All right, let's watch this.
We've all heard the rumors. We all know that Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, had a baby when she was only 12 years old. She followed that up by having another one at 14. Her father was C.L. Franklin. C.L. was a pastor famous for his fiery speeches from the pulpit and for his singing
These pastors be on some dark shit. But I'm gonna let this play. I'm gonna check on my dog real quick. Okay, check on Mono.
and for his womanizing. C.L. was known for messing with preteen girls because his desire for young girls had turned towards his own young daughter. In other words, was Aretha Franklin's daddy also her baby daddy? Let's start by taking a look at C.L.'s life before Aretha was born. C.L. was born Clarence LaVaughn Walker on January 22, 1915 in Mississippi. His father disappeared when he was 4, so he was raised solely by his mother Rachel. His mother at one point married a man named Henry Franklin, so C.L.'s surname changed from Walker to Franklin. Rachel, C.L.'s mother, worshipped him, and her whole world revolved around him. This would continue as he became an adult, which would become an issue later on. By the time he was 19, C.L. had married Aline Gaines. That didn't last long, because by 21 he had divorced her and married Barbara Siggers. Siggers already had a young son named Vaughn from a previous relationship. When C.L. was 23, Barbara gave birth to a daughter, Irma. 2 years later, a son, Cecil, was born in 1940. That same year, C.L. had a baby with a completely different female, Mildred Jennings. We can't call her a woman because she was only 12 years old. The 12-year-old girl had a daughter for C.L. Mildred was a member of C.L.'s congregation, and reports indicate that C.L. preyed on other preteen girls in his church as well. This outside baby was hidden from C.L.'s other children for 18 years until he decided he wanted to reveal it to them. Aretha, named after C.L.'s two sisters, was born on March 25, 1942, to C.L. and Barbara. In 1944, another daughter, Carolyn Ann, was born. Around this time, C.L. began to gain popularity for his preaching. He was an inspiration to legendary musicians such as B.B. King and Bobby Blue Bland. And he was also a mentor to the Reverend Jesse Jackson. C.L. was a ladies' man, so his popularity gave him lots of women to choose from. Many of the women in his church were after him, and C.L. took as many of them up on what they were offering as he could. In the meantime, his relationship with his wife Barbara was stormy. She was aware.
I'd like to know this guy's sources. I mean, if let me see. All right, so let me just say that this is all here. This might not be true. It may or may not, because I don't know. I don't just like to spread shit. Like I want to know if something is true. Like he's saying a lot of quote unquote facts, but where he's not saying according to that person or something like that. At least I didn't hear it. I don't know if y'all heard anything, but I mean, yeah, I mean, it looks like people are substantiating this, so I guess it's true.
Aware of C.L.'s cheating. C.L. wasn't a one-woman man. His wife was a one-man woman. In 1948, Barbara took her son Vaughn and moved back to Buffalo, New York. She left all the children she had with C.L. No definitive reason was given for her leaving. Some have speculated that C.L. made her leave, while others said that Barbara longed to be independent and away from C.L.'s controlling nature. Whatever the case, C.L. told her that she was free to leave and take her son, but none of the children that were C.L.'s were going with her. Buffalo was only about 200 miles away from Detroit, so the kids would visit Barbara as much as they could. Despite this, 6-year-old Aretha was heartbroken by her mother's leaving, as she was very close to her. Aretha was very withdrawn and shy. While she loved visiting her mother and would have loved to live with her, CL made it clear that that wasn't an option. Tragically, Aretha's mother died of a heart attack when Aretha was only 9. Aretha wouldn't speak a word for weeks afterward, and already introverted Aretha became more so after her mother's death. In her mother's place, Big Mama, CL's mother, and various women from the church were
That's a lot of shit to go through, bro. At 9, her mom died, like, and then she's living with this pimp pastor that's molesting and raping and having sex with all of his congregation members. This cult leader. Jeez, bro.
more than willing to look after the children. Of course, many of those church women were angling to hook up with CL. A couple of women would play major roles in Aretha's life. One was a woman named Lola Moore, who all the children grew close to. She was like a second mother to them. And for a while, it seemed like CL might marry her, but it never happened. She eventually left CL, and according to her siblings, Aretha was so devastated she didn't come out of her room for days. Aretha was still mourning the loss of her mother and didn't want to lose this mother figure. As a result, she begged her brother Cecil to plead the kids' case to CL and tell him how much they needed Lola. But Cecil wouldn't do it. He was too fearful of his father to do so. Reflecting on this time, Aretha's sister Carolyn said, quote, "Every little girl needs a mother," unquote, and that even though Big Mama was there, CL was elevated above the children. This is the problem with CL's mother that we referred to earlier. She was focused on her grown son's well-being and doing for him, always putting him ahead of his own small children who still needed to be raised and taught. Carolyn also said that all the children desperately needed a woman to hold them and call them her babies. While no definitive reason was given for Lola's departure, Carolyn suspects it's because CL had started a relationship with Clara Ward. Clara was a popular gospel singer. When most people think of gospel singers from this era, Mahalia Jackson is a popular name that comes to mind. In fact, Jackson was a mentor of Ward's. However, Clara was no Mahalia, at least not when it came to her behavior. While Mahalia reserved her singing strictly for churches and religious ceremonies, Clara often performed in secular clubs as well as churches. The Reverend James Cleveland later referred to CL and Clara as the Ike and Tina Turner of the church. This comparison wasn't just because they were popular entertainers. CL was abusive toward Clara, as no less than B.B. King says he once saw CL, quote, haul off and whacked her so hard across the face she fell to her knees.
Damn. That's fucking crazy.
Unquote. BB says he was too.
Another thing you realize with a lot of these relationships, when it comes to like artists and stuff like that, you see that the way that they grew up, and you know them being in abusive domestic relationships where maybe their dad was hitting on their mother, or their dad was abusing them, beating on them sexually or violently in that way. And then when they become who they become as adults, you see them repeat that cycle and being in abusive relationships with managers, with producers, and with people around them, controlling them. Um, and I wouldn't even say that's artists. I would say like that's just life in general. You see what I'm saying? Like I've seen that in my family. I've seen that in other people around. Seeing that they grow up a certain way, and as soon as they grow up, they either portray what they grew up, or they become a victim to how they grew up. You feel what I'm saying? Like they become a victim. Like the same thing happens again. You know, and I think the reason why that happens is because of unresolved trauma. Not to be a big mental health guru on him, but I'm saying like if you don't recognize and heal from certain loops, certain events that happen in life, they are liable to happen again. You understand what I'm saying? Like if you don't catch it and spot it and be like, okay, I'm not gonna take that direction. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna communicate with that person. I'm not gonna allow this energy into my life. Then it's gonna continue to happen. You feel what I'm saying? If like you being born and that energy already been imposed on you, you have to be aware of it. You have to be aware of how do I avoid this from happening and interfering with my life? Because shit, it ain't our fault that we born to abusive fathers or absent fathers or people that abandon us or reject us or do this to us, but we have control over how can I not allow this to become a repeated thing in my life and grow from it. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't over here trying to be no preacher or shit like that. I mean, I'm a victim and probably a portrayal of not these kind of actions, but some form of trauma that I've gone through. You feel what I'm saying? I'm just saying that we should be aware of it.
Too shocked to say anything. The Reverend James Cleveland says he saw CL brutalize Clara on several occasions, and that Clara was surprisingly passive about it. The time she did get mad, he says, CL would send flowers and candy, and they'd start up all over again. While Clara wasn't necessarily a role model for Aretha when it came to being a woman, she most definitely was one as an
Give me one moment.
entertainer. CL would often have parties at his home with famous people such as Sam Cooke, Nat King Cole, and Dinah Washington attending. At these events, Clara would play the piano. A young Aretha would sit in awe at the top of the stairs, watching Clara skillfully play and sing for the entertainment of all the guests. Aretha would study Clara playing and then imitate her playing note by note. She got so good at it that CL would often wake Aretha up to come and play the song called After Hours on the piano. Didn't matter if it was 3 or 4 a.m., he would still do it for the entertainment of his guests. Performing was the one place where Aretha's insecurities and self-doubt disappeared. She was confident in both her singing and piano playing. CL felt that she was good enough to start touring with him on the gospel circuit. Of course, CL was looking out for number one, thinking that Aretha could increase the number of tour days he had. While CL the moneymaker was winning with this arrangement, preteen Aretha was thrust into adulthood well before she would actually become one.